There are many beliefs about tarot cards and how to use them, as is to be expected for anything that has been around so long. Some of these beliefs are good and useful, at least if used sensibly. Others, however, can be very limiting. These are superstitions, and to be eschewed. More than an age ago, the great philosopher Plutarch defined superstition as being beliefs based upon fear of spirit, as opposed to religion, which is based upon love of spirit. The wise know that there is never a need to fear spirit, for spirit in all of its manifestations is good. Superstitions limit and confine, while true spirituality should never confine you. Which of these beliefs about tarot cards are helpful spiritual tools, and which are superstitions? This you must answer for yourself. What works well for one may be unnecessary or limiting to another, and what is unnecessary or limiting to one may be another's helpful psychic key, assisting their shift of consciousness. The question is, what works for you? Any of these beliefs could be helpful, but none of them should ever be regarded as necessary. What are these beliefs? Some of them include the following. Some people believe that you should never buy a tarot deck for yourself, but only receive one as a gift. I would venture to suggest that this belief arises from the idea of letting the right deck for you seek you out, like a found stone or object. Of course, this belief is only practical if you know people who use tarot cards. Some people believe that this only refers to a person's first tarot deck, while others hold that it is true for any tarot deck. Another belief that some hold is that you should never use a tarot deck that has previously belonged to another person. The idea here is that the deck will have bonded with its first owner and will not work well for any other. However, many people believe that one's first deck should be a deck that has been previously owned, preferably by one's teacher. Personally, I have used both new and previously owned tarot decks, both purchased and given with equal success. As for the vibrations of previous owners, these are easy enough cleared. Anytime you acquire a new tarot deck, however you acquire it, you should cleanse and bless it, as you might cleanse and bless any ritual object. This should normally clear any pre-existing vibrations. Another belief about tarot cards is that you should attune to a new deck so that it bonds to you and you to it. The most common way for this to be done is to sleep with the deck for 3 nights in succession. Usually these are the 3 nights of the full moon when the ambient energy is strongest. The deck is placed either under the pillow or under the bed itself. Some people prefer to place the deck upon their altar. Some people, having attuned to their deck, don't want anyone else to touch it, sometimes even the people they are reading for. They feel that other people's energy will disturb their bond with the cards. And of course, if you choose to believe that, it will become true. Energy is shaped by thought and emotion, usually unconsciously, remember? Personally, I let everyone handle my cards and have never had any trouble of this kind. On the contrary, I pride myself on having friendly cards. Though cards are meant to respond to energy, I do not feel that they pick up energy that casually. Many readers I know, both professional and recreational, feel the same way. But who you let handle your cards is a personal choice, and when it comes to your cards, you should do what feels right to you. For this same reason, the idea that cards will casually pick up unwanted energy and give skewed readings as a result, many people make it a habit to wrap their cards in silk and keep them in a special box. Some people believe that silk has a special ability to shield from unwanted energy, and this idea was particularly popular at the turn of the last century. As to the boxes, these are often lovely works of art in their own right, especially the shamish wood boxes imported from India for this purpose, which are often elaborately carved and inlaid. Storing your cards in silk and fine wooden boxes is a nice thing to do. It makes for great atmosphere and thus can serve as a psychic key, helping you to align with your higher self and come into the right state of mind for reading. It is not, however, necessary. I've read with cards straight from the box or carried in baggies and done just as well. Some people also like to place a special stone or stones, usually quartz crystal, with their cards when they are not in use. The crystal is meant to amplify the card's energy, thus aiding the reader's native psychic ability, as well as the card's ability to attune to the questioner. Other stones which might be placed with the cards include lapis lazuli, amethyst, and moonstone, all intended to increase the reader's ability to use the cards psychically. Of course, any stone can be used in this way if one desires to imbue the cards with its particular energy. Herbs can be used in the same way. In the days, a few years back, when I was a well-known reader on the psychic fair circuit, my tarot cards were usually kept in a shamish wood box, along with quartz crystal, a hunk of amethyst with a pewter wizard figure mounted on it, and whole cloves, a favorite herb of mine. The inside of the box had been swabbed with essential oils chosen to promote psychic ability. The cards themselves were a pack of Morgan Greer's, the gift of my altar sister, Virginia Bitterwind Smith. I still use the same cards for most readings even after a quarter of a century, and although I have come to have a substantial collection. One other common belief about tarot cards must be mentioned here. That is the idea that each tarot deck has its own spirit and personality. Now this is an idea with which we agree generally, for what which exists does not have a spirit. And just as you can visualize the spirit of a stone to attune to it, or receive advice or assistance from it, so too the spirit of your tarot cards. Obviously, such a practice can be helpful, but often it is not. Unlike a stone which has existed long before it came to you, and thus has a well-developed nature of its own, a tarot deck will take on much of its character through use, and much of that character will be shaped by you. The obvious consequence of this is that you should shape the cards as you want them. I have known a number of people who had tarot decks which were extremely temperamental, finicky about whom they would read for and when or even if they could be read at all. All this is very dramatic, but if you ask me, a pain in the neck. But these people loved it. They would supplicate their cards, cater to them, treat them as prima donnas. Of course, that's just how these people liked their cards to be. It was their atmosphere, their key. They have programmed their cards to be this way, perhaps unconsciously, and reinforced it through their own behavior. Nice if you like things like that, I suppose. I prefer a simpler, friendlier world. Personally, I do not accept that sort of complications in my life, at least not from a deck of cards, and consequently I'm never presented with them. I expect my cards to be user-friendly and trouble-free, and they are. I acknowledge that they have a spirit, but I limit my interactions with it to blessing, cleansing, and asking questions of the cards. My advice? Treat your cards as colleagues